This is Nadisha in Chicago, and you're watching my channel, Knowledge for Quality of Life. Friends, I welcome to those who have recently joined the channel, and I hope that you guys are all going to participate in, questioning, commenting uh, on this channel. So, this channel is a community of learners, so that, the objective is to share the knowledge. Okay. Last time I spoke about particle distribution test to assess the heart disease risk, in comparison with the standard lipid panel, which is kind of like obsolete. Now, when we are talking about the heart disease risk, most of the time we tend to forget unintentionally. Sometimes we forget that, heart, instead of heart attack, one can have a stroke too. Okay, because the underlying conditions which builds the atherosclerotic plaque around the coronary artery of the heart, the same concept, it happens atherosclerosis or atherosclerotic plaque here as well, in the carotid artery. So what happens that, heart being a sort of a motor, it pumps the blood to a variety of parts of the body, throughout the body. So these are the two main carotid arteries which takes the blood pumping from heart to the brain, and it's oxygenated blood. Okay, and brain gets the oxygen through this blood. Okay, so we have to make sure that the state of the carotid artery. We know the status of it. There shouldn't be any atherosclerotic plaque here, or there shouldn't be any occlusion or stenosis or blockages. Okay, so that we assess. Now we assess the risk properly. Now folks who are hyperglucose, high insulin resistance, particularly diabetic, folks who have hypertension, folks who smoke, folks who have a high cholesterol, high little LPA, which we inherited from either mom or dad, and these are all factors that underlying conditions which dictates that one should assess the risk of this as well, because it's very critical. Because in my opinion, at least in my view, that if somebody, God forbid, gets heart attack, one would most likely die pretty quick. Okay, but if God forbid somebody gets a stroke, state of the stroke, and if the plaque ruptures in the carotid artery, and the clotting forms, and clot gets stuck somewhere in the capillary or some artery in the brain, then there won't be any oxygenated blood going through that portion of the artery, and one would get a state of a stroke, state of unconsciousness, which we call stroke. Now that would make person could, if it's a very devastating stroke, one would die. But if there's there could be a paralysis, there could be a, brain damage or something, and basically what I'm trying to illustrate here, that, stroke, condition of the stroke or state of the stroke is sometimes worse than the heart attack, because the quality of life is directly correlated with the state of the stroke. Okay, and the quality of life is going to get depleted if, God forbid, somebody gets paralysis, and the whatever the years of life we have in front of us, the quality is not going to be as good as we actually we desire, right? And this channel is about quality of life. I've been doing all my vlogs around that concept, and that's why I kept this channel's handle name is Knowledge for QOL. It stands for quality of life. So knowledge for quality of life. Now, to assess the risk of a heart attack, I have talked in one of the vlog, the calcium score, calcium artery score, which we do it. Check that vlog to assess the risk of the heart disease, heart attack. But to assess the risk of a stroke, one can have two types. One of the two types of a test. There are two types of tests which assesses the risk of a stroke. One is called CIMT, Carotid Intima-Media Thickness, and the second one is Carotid Doppler. Either one of the two you can use to assess the risk. Carotid intima median thickness is not readily available at many facilities, but carotid Doppler, this is my study when I was trying to do it, in 2021. I didn't get any nearby location for carotid intima median thickness, so I chose carotid Doppler. Now, carotid intima median thickness, it measures the thickness of the artery between the two median intima layers, right? One this way and one this way, right? So if there is a artery like this, then this intima layer here and here, it measures the thickness. So it measures the soft plaque, it measures the hard plaque as well. So basically, CIMT is very useful if somebody wants to assess that, if the progression of the disease just begun, and in the initial phases, so that, one can take a precautionary measure, either lifestyle or, bring it to your doctor's attention, and do something about it before it gets out of the hand. Now, the second one, the carotid Doppler, it measures the basically velocity. So basically, you have a carotid Doppler. What they do in both tests, they put the gel around the carotid artery, and they use the transducers. It transmits the sound wave, and it measures in the carotid Doppler. It measures the velocity. Okay. In CIMT, they measure it the median thickness. It takes the cross-sectional area of the median thicknesses. So if the median thickness is from here to here, a variety of cross-section is pretty much same, it means that there is no occlusion or there is no plaque. And it will tell in the test results, soft plaque and hard plaque both. But in carotid Doppler, it measures only the velocity. So let's say if they take 10 cross sections from here to here, and they will measure the velocity at each cross section, that blood coming at this location, whatever the blood discharge is, it has to be equal to here, because same amount of blood has to pass through. Okay, so if there is a carotid artery cross section at this location at point 1, then they started taking the cross section. And if there is a blockage here somewhere in the middle, and there's a reduction in the cross-sectional area, what's going to happen? Guess what? So the blood is going to squirt through, it's going to increase its velocity, because what happens that, the discharge, volume of the discharge is equal to area times velocity. That's the formula from basic fluid mechanics, which we studied in basic physics. High school student would know if you remember. So discharge equals to area times velocity. So if there is a decrease in the cross-sectional area in somewhere here, and you have lesser cross-sectional area because there is a soft plaque or hard plaque inside, the blood is going to pass through very fast. And that's what they are trying to measure, the velocity at different cross-section. If the velocity is pretty much same throughout the 10 cross-sectional area, within plus minus margin of error, it means that there is no occlusion, there is no stenosis, there is no blockage. So that's what they look for. And it's just a concept of, if you take a garden hose and if you're giving water to your lawn, and you have a point A here and point B here, and if you pinch the garden hose a little bit in between, so what's going to happen that, water is going to come out from this point B, it's going to squirt through much faster, because now you have pinched the water, water hose, and you have reduced artificially the cross-sectional area. So velocity has to increase, because whatever the amount of water, whatever the water discharge was at point A, it has to be equal to point B. So you reduce one variable, which is cross-sectional area, the second variable has to go up equal amount by the same proportion to equate the discharge, because whatever the blood is here flowing, it has to be equal to here. So that's what they try to measure. I did it in 2021, and it was clean. And I plan to do it again after 5 years. So maybe I'm going to do it maybe next year or year after. and just monitor. So basically, once they detect that there is some progression, or say there's an atherosclerotic plaque, or atherosclerosis started, you have to, they would say that, maybe you have to modify your lifestyle. They may give you some kind of a drug, but I chose to do the modification lifestyle, and I make sure I'm okay in my optimum level in vitamin D. My K2 is optimum. My magnesium is optimum. So, and my lifestyle, my diet is, conforming my, own genotype, which we talked about in many vlogs. So basically, that's all we can do, okay, in our power. So what we are trying to do is to have the good quality of life as long as we are alive. So when we are trying to assess the risk for the heart disease, make sure that you don't forget the status or condition of your carotid artery, because that's very, very important as far as the quality of life is concerned. Because I've seen few in my family, friends, and and it's devastating if somebody gets through this, God forbid, it's very, very. So I hope that you will take a notice of this, and talk to your doctor, okay? And particularly if you have a disease risk in the family with all these parameters which I highlighted, if you have any underlying conditions which I have mentioned. Okay, so I hope you will learn something from it. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, include in the comment section. I'll try to respond in timely manner. Thank you. See you next week. Bye.